Ladies and gents, welcome back. A new cope in Canada. There's a new coping mechanism for the Liberals here in Canada. This comes after the growing popularity of the freedom movement in Canada. And, well, what is the cope? Well, it's running bogus polls to help with their anxiety moving forward. Here we have reported on this recently. Majority of Canadians view politicians' open support of truckers' protest as negative. This is a survey they put out. Now, the next survey is great, but just getting at the methodology here, if we go right down to the bottom, Nanos conducted an RDD dual frame land and cell lines hybrid telephone and online random survey of 1,073 Canadians. And this is this is it. 1,073 Canadians, and they come to this conclusion. Their own predetermined conclusions, as you'll see here. Mr. Nanos himself, the guy who ran the polls, gave his opinion on this CTV article. He says, "I think the fact of the matter is that for many Canadians, they saw it as disruptive, even though many sympathize with what I'll say is the frustration of the pandemic and the frustration of the lockdowns. What you'll say is that I think the fact of the matter is where the truckers' protest ended and now ended up in court with criminal charges. It's basically bad news." This is what Nanos, the guy conducting the poll, and then coming up with the narrative based on what the polling was. Now, in the methodology, they don't tell you at all in here what questions were asked, what the answers to the recipients were of those recipients of the questions were. They don't give you a link to any of the data of the poll. They just interpret it and then post it for you. Now, how did that work out? It didn't work out too well in Mr. Nanos's favor or CTV News with their coping mechanism. Pierre Poilievre landed a landslide victory in that election for the leadership of the Conservative Party. Now, the new poll that just came out yesterday, Justin Trudeau slightly favored over Pierre Poilievre for Prime Minister. The new poll suggests, they didn't even get the right picture. They got Jagmeet Singh here, but whatever. Ottawa, new poll suggests Canadians still believe Justin Trudeau is still the best man for the job of Prime Minister, but he has only a slight lead over the new Conservative leader, Pierre Poilievre. Ledger has released the findings of an online survey conducted from September 16th to September 18th, over 2 days, with 1,500 Canadians. Okay, sure. The results came 10 days after Poilievre's landslide victory in the Conservative leadership race, which many Tories hope signals the beginning of a unified Conservative Party. Absolutely. The poll shows support for the Liberals fell a dramatic 5 points since early August, while the Tories gained 6 points. The NDP also rose by 2, and the People's Party of Canada fell by 2. The poll suggests the Liberals' popularity has declined since 1 year ago when Trudeau was re-elected for a second time to form a minority government. Let's just put this one into perspective. So many people abstained from that last election for many reasons. There was the pandemic happening. People had their fears, but a lot of people were disaffected and just didn't want to engage with the political system at the time. It was after which that all the proverbial crap hit the fan, and well, lots happened since then, and a lot that has made Justin Trudeau probably the least popular prime minister in Canada's history. To put that nicely, I guess. Around 28% of respondents said they would cast a ballot for the Liberals if the election were held today, as compared to nearly 33% who did last September. Again, this is based on 1,500 people. Now, this is eerily reminiscent. This is actually eerily, and by the way, in this one, they didn't even show the methodology. They didn't even get into the methodology, I think because so many people were questioning the methodology of the last one and what they'd written. So they just decided to opt out and not write anything about the methodology of the poll. Again, no links to the poll, not showing what the questions were in the poll, not showing who responded, when, where, how, any of this stuff in the poll that was conducted over 2 days with 1,500 Canadians randomly. But this is eerily reminiscent of what happened back in 2016 in the United States. Now, what was happening in the States at the time? Well, just leading up to Donald Trump being elected. Now, a lot of people want to compare Poilievre to Donald Trump. I don't think there's much of a comparison there, except the popularity of him in compared to what the media wants. Now, it's the liberal left media that's comparing him to Donald Trump. I don't think there's much of a comparison, but there is a comparison here to the liberal cope that was going on at the time. So right now, polls show Donald Trump losing every single swing state. Now, this is August 15th, 2016 by Vox. Vox, the publisher, Vox Magazine or whatever, Vox.com, saying Donald Trump's set to lose. Our polls are telling us that he's going to lose. We've got another website here showing things aren't looking good for Donald Trump and for other things to know about October 24th. This is leading up to the presidential election after he won the nomination for the Republican Party and then was going into the general election. Now, what happened with that? There was, I think there was an upset, a big old fat upset. Yes, they were very surprised to see what the actual results were. And a lot of people were disappointed. So the coping mechanism didn't lead to something very good for them. It led to a lot of disappointment. You can't fool yourself into a situation where the reality just doesn't meet what's happening on the ground. Now, all jokes aside, this is pretty funny, but what actually went down? Why the 2016 election polls missed their mark? Here's an interesting article, pewresearch.org putting this one out, and this was after the election, obviously. The results of Tuesday's presidential election came as a surprise to nearly everyone who had been following the national and state election polling. Which, of course, if you were following the polling, this would have been a surprise. Most of us watching the culture, because politics is downstream from culture. So watching the cultural shift, most of us predicted this. We predicted that this was going to happen, that Donald Trump was going to get elected, and that they would be very surprised. With the polling, which consistently projected Hillary Clinton as defeating Donald Trump, relying largely on opinion polls, election forecasters put Clinton's chance of winning anywhere from 70% to as high as 99%, and pegged her as the hefty favorite to win in a number of states such as Pennsylvania and Wisconsin. In the end, they were all taken by Trump. How could the polls have been so wrong in the state of the election? Well, let's get down here. One likely culprit is that the pollsters referred to what the pollsters refer to as non-response bias. This occurs when certain kinds of people systematically did not respond to surveys despite equal opportunity outreach to all parts of the electorate. Now, they went on to rag on people who happened to vote for Donald Trump. They say, we know that some groups, including less educated voters who were likely a key demographic for Trump on the election day, whatever, this is more of their opinion. But the fact of the matter here is that people stopped replying to the polls. Is this a phenomena that we're seeing here in Canada now? As they're looking for their coping mechanism to deal with the fact that there is a growing movement in opposition to the mainstream or the establishment. We have a lot of people wanting to move back to center as the liberal establishment has gone far, far left. We've even seen it recently with liberal cabinet members secretly breaking to the media that they're looking to go a little less woke these days. So, like I said, Politics is downstream from culture, and this is what we have to look forward to. But enjoy this. I hope you enjoyed this video talking about the Liberal cope. Anyway, leave a comment in the comment section down below. Let me know what you think of this situation. If you haven't already done so, hit the subscribe button, hit that notification bell. I sometimes do extra streams other than my usual Friday stream at 6:30 Pacific time. Tonight, I'll be live with Marty up north. Be sure to check that out. That'll be at 6:30 Pacific time tonight. We'll see you then. Keep on trucking.